stuff. GeorgeC now for his spot in the semi-finals. Remember, no man has come so close so many times during this Hearthstone Championship Tour. Sorry, easy for me to say. Hearthstone Championship Tour season as GeorgeC, and he has got one more final chance here, one more last call to make his way to BlizzCon.
Yeah, but I mean, GeorgeC would also almost been shocked if he got knocked out already in the quarters here. Nicslay, very strong player, but just with GeorgeC's consistency, it's almost like granted that he's just gonna make it very far in the tournament.
Yeah, and wild growth into Maya Keeper here for GeorgeC. And correct me if I'm wrong, Savitz, but I think GeorgeC has placed Ragnaros the Firelord into his Druid deck as well for this tournament, if I remember rightly.
No,
actually,
he hasn't.
Okay.
He's still running a Yorkshire.
Interesting.
Many players have chosen to cut Yorkshire after the changes to it. The change effectively makes it a Yorkshire stop casting spells if it kills itself or returns to hand or similar effects. But GeorgeC is sticking with it.
There is, however, a Harrison Jones in the deck, which is a huge tool. But
so
yeah, that's surprising to me because generally the two decks that you see at the moment are the new Moonkin variation that's still running Yogg, or the older style that's cut the Yogg out and replaced it with Ragnaros. That's the pattern that we've seen going forward, but GeorgeC's not running the Moonkin version, but still running the Yogg in there.
Yeah, and he has decked in a Harrison Jones, and he should give himself a pat on the back for this one. So strong, playing that, had the Wild Growth earlier, getting a turn 3, 5-4 while drawing 2 cards. That's pretty good. Cards are extremely valuable for Druid.
I said the Harrison Jones was going to be a huge tool, and Nicslay is probably feeling like GeorgeC is kind of a huge tool right now after that play. He is not going to be happy with the situation. Weapon gets destroyed, 2 cards, 5/4s worth of pressure on the board as well. So GeorgeC in a really strong spot here with all the resource he needs.
Not only did GeorgeC get a very good start, but Nicslay is looking at a very awkward turn here. He only has that questing adventure to play for a minion. He would have loved to have something like a Tomb Pillager, or at least a way to remove the Harrison cleanly. You don't want to sap it.
Sap Harrison, yeah.
That's the only way to get it off the board right now, so...
He does, I mean, looking on the bright side for Nicslay here, being the eternal optimist that everyone knows I am, he does have a pretty powerful questing adventurer hand here. This is the kind of hand that he would have loved to have had the previous game after he concealed his questing adventurer.
Yeah.
So maybe he feels like he can leverage this questing to some sort of advantage. But yeah, this is a rogue player sapping a Harrison Jones. That is the desperate situation that Nicslay is in right now.
If he had a conceal to go with all that, it would have been great. Because next turn he could have kept going with it and just cold-blooded and maybe get it out of the range for the removal. But GeorgeC has a lot of different ways to just remove it, and even an innervate to potentially improve his own board state. So I'm looking at like something like maybe Wrath, Living Roots, innervate, Mire Keeper, or he could just swipe. How about just Nourish for mana? Probably want to draw with it later. I don't know.
Nourish for mana.
So
Wrath Hero Power is possible. Yeah, yeah. Lots of silly things. Actually, you can Nourish for mana, Innovate, Swipe as well if you want to really go all the way in. So, yeah. I mean, take your pick. All of these plays are available to you, George. You have a multitude of options to kill a 4/4. Honestly, in the position that you're in here, all of them are probably put you in an advantageous situation. He's going to go just for the simple option. We spent 40 seconds that turn or so, Savitz, thinking of the most elaborate way that we could kill a 4/4. George just goes with a simple plan.
I couldn't figure it out. I'm not sure what would have been the best one out of all those options. And the only thing that was that he had to absolutely do was to remove that. That questing from the board. It was not an option to leave it up, but yeah, swipes that, plays the Living Roots. Sure, why not?
Yeah, so Nicslay, stress starting to get the better of him here. He's obviously not feeling too great, and actually I think notable, I don't think there was the pause and the moment of composure at the start of this game that we've seen in all of the other ones. So the pressure might just be starting to get to him here as he's letting such an advantageous situation slip away here from 2-0 up to 3-2 down.
Yeah, and it's also like Nicslay, he really doesn't have many plays right now. Even if he picked up an Auctioneer, he wouldn't have any preps to go with it. He wouldn't have a conceal for it. if he chooses to make a new dagger, he knows that GeorgeC has a Harrison Jones just ready and waiting. That's a good first step.
It
but
is.
He still needs to find a conceal for it for next turn, or a preparation to kind of kickstart things, I guess.
Yeah, still 2 remaining in the deck, but none of these cards seem particularly appropriate to react to this situation. You want to save the backstab to pair with the Auctioneer. You don't want to be shadow striking a 3/3 against a deck where Fandral Staghelm exists. So suddenly, all of these options are just looking incredibly frustrating for Nicslay, but as you said, he knows he can't afford to just have a dagger pass turn, because that gets blown out way harder than anything else, because he knows he's sapped this Harrison Jones back into his opponent's hand.
Yeah, he might just do it anyway. He knows that at least GeorgeC will have to spend 5 mana to play the Harrison again, so there's that. But
yeah,
things are looking very dire for Nicslay. He already used 1 preparation earlier too, so there's only 1 remaining in the deck right now. So the Auctioneer can't even be all that crazy. Another dagger in the museum. Wow, is it getting sapped one more time?
Another dagger in the museum, another dagger in the heart of Nicslay at this point. He knows his run to BlizzCon is potentially coming to an end very quickly here. He has to dig deep and find something spectacular here, or this is going to slip away from his grasp very, very fast.
Yeah, the Auctioneer doesn't do much here. I would expect him to be holding off with it for now. Just going for the backstab Assai, Eviscerate, and hoping to pick up that conceal. GeorgeC is still with so many plays for days. The Harrison gave him 3 cards additional, and he has the Norris so he could draw for more. Yorks are on. I don't think we're gonna see that York getting played in this game at all. GeorgeC is in such a comfortable position, but who knows, maybe he only finds more spells and Nicslay will get the Dream Auctioneer.
Yeah, we'll see. Nourish to draw here just again. Well, you said, what if he just draws all spells?
Yeah,
that,
I mean,
as far as I'm concerned, is a hand of, what, 7 spells and a Yogg-Saron, so...
Doesn't do that much. Malygos might be the last card in his deck.
Do you want to reevaluate your position? That's 3 Raven Idols that we can loop here into this Yogg. I don't know.
No Arcane Giants in his hand either, so while he does get those awesome discounts for his Giants, he won't be able to get that. Oh my... Well, I guess Moonglade Portal is okay, but... I mean, you're not picking a Notice, you already have one.
Yeah, Moonglade Portal definitely seems like the play here. GeorgeC is just going to keep playing Raven Idols until he sees something that he likes the look of here. Feral Rage number 2 seems reasonable. So now GeorgeC has to consider whether he wants to recognize the threat of this 3/3 or just save up the enormous amount of burst that he has in hand. He's going to go for the latter. And with 2 Feral Rages in hand, he can basically afford to just tank damage and draw cards until he hits Malygos at this point, and then just win the game from that position.
But Nicslay here, he needs to get a little bit lucky with the next draws. If he picks up that conceal,
he needs it. He
needs
it
really,
so badly.
He has to get it. Now a preparation maybe first.
Nope.
Well, that's 10 damage and he picked up a Leroy, but there's still a long way to go because of those double Feral Rages in GeorgeC's hand.
Yeah, there is removal in hand, there is 16 armor, and there is 6 health gain with the Moonglade Portal. So even if Nicslay feels like he's making a push here, he is still a long, long way away as Swipe Living Roots now takes care of the board. Moonglade Portal will come out, healing back to 25. And he's going to use Feral Rage instead here, just to tank maximum amount of armor here.
Yeah, there's 1 mana off from using that Moonglade Portal.
Oh, was he? Oh, my apologies.
So he has to go for that one. But still, like, it's pretty good. Doesn't get the minion on the board, but he doesn't need it. Like, I don't think GeorgeC even needs to necessarily, with this hand, kill Nicslay. He can just try to play as much time as possible. He can just play it defensive, remove every single minion. And yeah, I mean, there's also that possibility that he might draw the Malygos at any moment, and then those double Moonfires are going to kick in.
Yeah, completely agree. And right at the start of this turn, we saw Nicslay think about the option of just Leroy Fan of Knives, just to connect with face and at least be able to cycle a card, and then quickly told himself that that play seemed ridiculous, and then reassessing maybe he needs to do something ridiculous to have a chance in this game. So, I mean, Leroy Fan, do you like it, Savitz? Is it a play that's ever going to get him anywhere in this game?
I don't know. I almost feel like he needs Leroy Coldblood Conceal or something. But
I agree.
He is going to go for it. He has to make something happen. Time is against him here, and he knows that GeorgeC has 7 cards in his hand. Will draw another one, so he has to make something happen. I can't blame him for this.
There is a Fandral Staghelm being drawn, which means the Feral Rage can now be used for dual purpose to take care of this and gain the armor if he wants, but he's just going to go ahead and Nourish, gain the mana. Yep. Still has Feral Rage available to him if he needs to, but he can pick up better options like Living Roots at this point to take care of it. But yeah, Feral Rage is going to be the tool here, and he does now have the inevitability of that Malygos in his hand.
Yep, he got it. And probably going to use his face on that Leroy, but he would just... I'm trying to think if he could just Moonfire and play the defensive game, but with that Malygos, like it's kind of weird to be wasting those Moonfires.
You've seen a Cold Blood, you've seen a Conceal, you've seen a Questing. Like that's a long list of the things that are going to hit you really, really hard in this build of the Rogue from Nicslay. So I don't think he has to be too concerned about his life, especially since he has the gain of Moonglade Portal in his hand as well.
Right, that's a good point. The Moonglade Portal really gives him like a kind of a safety net there. Nicslay here, not too many plays available, doesn't have as many cards as GeorgeC does, and Nicslay just playing his entire hand and hoping for a miracle.
It's an 8/8 Van Cleef. I mean, if anything was going to give him a chance this game, that's high on the list, but Feral Rage number 3 now from GeorgeC alongside that Moonglade Portal. I think we are just going to see the board control play here from GeorgeC. Yeah, I love this plan. No cards in hand here for the Rogue. 1 sap already used, so the potential to answer this Malygos is very low from Nicslay, meaning that he can just dominate the board from here.
That's not exactly what Nicslay was hoping to get.
Some people might call that the worst draw in the deck.
It was the worst draw in the deck.
It was, yeah. Some people might call that the second worst draw in the deck.
Well, I mean, it's 4 damage with the if you combo it with the prep, and then yeah.
Yes, it is.
The best play at this point might be in the bottom right corner for Nicslay. Just go over that conceal, but there's so much at stake, and it's pretty hard to just give up when the stakes are so high.
Sorry, there are those 0 mana Arcane Giants that GeorgeC has been looking for all game, but GeorgeC is just going to take this one nice and slow. Not a single card in hand to take advantage of the fact that he just has a Malygos on the board, so he's just going to use its value as a 4/11 to control the board, and he is going to use the value of tactical BM emotes to frustrate his opponent. It looks like GeorgeC is walking this one home. That bottom right play might just be coming into effect soon, Savitz.
Yeah, GeorgeC, maybe a little bit unnecessary to be emoting there, but he's enjoying the moment. He knows that he is almost guaranteed to move on to the semifinals, so I'm sure it's nothing personal that directed at Nicslay, trying to just be mean. Mist Caller, not so good, but not that it matters.
This is just GeorgeC going through the formalities here. Nicslay, the most important game of Hearthstone of his life to date since the Winter Championships. He hung on for